So I hear a lot of people talk about contract vehicles, and especially new contract vehicles. I watch a lot of energy get spent on PAX 3 or this next onboarding or CIOSP 4, which was awarded years ago, wasn't it? Or all these contract vehicles that are out there. I see a lot of us focus on these new big contract vehicles that are coming down, but a couple of things, right? They're long term. We have today goals, but we're looking at those as long term. I'm not necessarily saying get rid of those, but what I am saying is put equal amount of energy and discussion and thought behind your approach to getting access to the existing contract vehicles. When you do that, I think you're really going to be off to the races on growing your company and not waiting just for those long-term vehicles. And so that's the point of today's training. Is I really want to dive into being a subcontractor on contract vehicles maybe you missed out on last time. You weren't around or you tried for it and you missed it. So I'm going to cover down on three main things, but really just a couple of slides, and then I'm going to dive into actually taking you out onto the internet, showing you how I do what I do, how I get on awarded contract vehicles, right? I'm going to give you some tips. So the first thing I want to cover, though, is just some myths about contract vehicles. Sometimes we have these preconceived notions of or we frankly are told these myths about contract vehicles. And so I want to demystify them. I want to break those myths down. That's too hard to say on a Friday. The second thing I want to cover is why you want to get on the contract vehicles, right? It's not enough to just look at the long range, but you also want to be having a strategic approach to contract vehicles. So I'll touch briefly on that. And then the last part I'm going to cover, which hopefully will be the bulk of today's training, is how do I get on the contract vehicles? I like to give you tips for success, and these tips are tactical tips. Do this, 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 and it should lead to this result. So that's what we're going to cover down on today. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald. I want to welcome you to my federal sales training where I provide those tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years as a government contractor in the federal market, and since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we're going to have repeatable, predictable results, and that's what I want for you. As I give you some tips around contract vehicles and trying to get on them, if you follow the process I'm going to teach you, it will deliver repeatable, predictable results of being able to identify a preferred contract vehicle and then getting on it. And getting on it is a loose term, and I'll talk about that in a minute. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to our GovCon or Government Contracting Success newsletter. This is my newsletter that I put out and try to share a lot of valuable information about government contracting. I just put out a newsletter issue this morning, and that one was it was based off a training I actually did yesterday, but the article breaks down how do you send an email to the federal buyers to get them to open it. And later on in today's training, I'm going to say, go watch that training, go look at that newsletter. So make sure you're subscribed to the newsletter. The next thing is I just want to say thank you very much. We have over 100 people, 120 people registered for today's training. That's a huge way for you to just say thank you to us. We really appreciate it when we see you registering and saying, hey, I plan on watching the training. It also allows LinkedIn to push the word out to other people who might be interested but don't know who we are, right? Not everybody knows who we are. As big as we might think we are, 12,000 subscribers on our newsletter, we're just touching the surface of trying to share information out there. So I want to make sure that we're letting as many people know when you register for training, you're helping us put that word out. The last thing is don't come alone. If you like the training and if you've been here 2 times, 3 times, 30 times, 300 times, right? We've done almost 400 trainings. We've done over 400 trainings in the last 2 years. Many, many, many people have come over 100 times. I don't know if that's you, right? But invite others. Let others know about it personally and invite them. Okay, so let's start with the top myths about contract vehicles. So I think the biggest myth that's out there is once a contract contract vehicle team has come together and they won it, they pursued it and they won it, that once they're formed, they're formed. And this just isn't the case. There's all sorts of reasons that we can talk about. I think on the next slide, I'll talk about it more. But the reality is when a team is formed, they put together just enough to win it. But as they move forward, things might change. And if I use one quick example, some contract vehicles are 5 and 10 years in length. In the last couple of years, AI has popped up as this big kind of revolutionary thing that's hitting the scene. Well, a lot of the companies that are on a team might not have that skill set. And if you have that skill set and you can bring it in, then you're bringing extra value to the team. And then there's transition. People come in, they come out. So once a team is formed, it's not the end. They still are forming. They're always trying to make sure that prime contractors always trying to make sure they keep it strong. This goes to my second myth, right? Is that primes don't need more partners. They actually do, right? Sometimes you might reach out to somebody, and at that point in time, they don't need somebody. But that's not the reality of the life of a contract vehicle. When a team forms, sometimes they have a small business on there that's covering down on the HUBZone or the woman-owned designation on that contract vehicle, if it's a larger one, for example. Well, what happens when those people graduate? What happens when those people just no longer in business, right? There's normal transition or turnover on a team. And so you finding primes who have the contract vehicles, these contract vehicle holders, you finding them and building relationships allows you to be at the forefront when they have a need. So that, I'm hoping today when you reach out, you're going to find people who need you right away. But when you build a relationship, these primes who didn't need a partner yesterday will need it tomorrow. So they definitely need continued partners. Another quick example of why primes might need a partner in this myth, this bullet is a myth, is because sometimes they're trying to get into particular agencies and they don't really have the presence. They've got the contract vehicle and they got some other stuff, but they're not in that agency, a sub-agency of a department or something. But if you are, then they'll invite you on perhaps to that vehicle. So there's a need they have for you. The third myth about contract vehicles that I want to just share here is that there's only a few contract vehicles out there and it's so crowded and it's a tough world. There's this term, and you may or may not have heard of it, called BIC, or best-in-class contract vehicles. And the people who like to make everything sound like the end of the world, the half-glassers, if you will, instead of half full, it's half empty, those people will sit there and talk about how best-in-class contract vehicles, these like 40 contract vehicles, are really the only ones out there. And, oh my gosh, if you're not on there, you're doomed. Well, that's not the case. There's tons of contract vehicles. And when I say tons, I might literally mean tons the way you weigh it. There's over 100,000 contract vehicles out there. So there's these key ones that we all hear about. There's these GWAC, government-wide acquisition vehicles, which is basically a contract vehicle that can be used government-wide, right? There's these kind that we know about, we hear because people talk about it a lot. But then there's a ton of other contract vehicles where there's 20 companies that are primes on it. Some that have five or 10 people on it. Some contract vehicles are single awardee, meaning they went to one prime. Well, if you identify that an agency that you're trying to work with is going through that vehicle and somebody's got it for 5 years, don't walk away and say, I'll come back in 5 years. Look at that and go, I wonder how I can get on with them, build a relationship, begin to demonstrate my value as a subject matter expert company, right? And perhaps help them win more task orders with that very vehicle that they have. So there's over 100,000 contract vehicles. You can go on GovCon Chamber, which you see at the bottom here, govconchamber.com, and go find a blog, and maybe somebody's nice enough to put it in the chat, but go find a blog that I wrote about contract vehicles and understanding how the GSA and how the government manages and tries to track all these vehicles. The last myth is that opportunities are all listed on SAM. That's just not the case, right? So many opportunities come out that are not listed on SAM until they've been awarded, and then there'll be some notice maybe in there. But really, FPDS is where you can find all opportunities, but it's after the fact, after they've been awarded. And so when you think about opportunities, and you can count that as like task orders, when you think about opportunities are in SAM, you go, oh, I'm seeing them, but I can't remember what the stats are, but I feel pretty safe of saying SAM is more like 40% of what's out there. The other 60% is on contract vehicles and other portals. We'll talk about that in a minute, right? But you want to be able to get on these vehicles out there and start tracking more of these opportunities, because the opportunities are not just on SAM. That's not where you look. It is a place to look, but it's not the only place to look. So let's briefly talk about why you want to get on contract vehicles. First is going with the myths I was just talking about. A huge portion of the spending happens on contract vehicles compared to just direct award or simplified acquisition, et cetera. And so you want to find those vehicles that are being used to buy your products and services in your target agency. The second thing is if you get on a contract vehicle, and this is a little one of my favorite ones, is that when you get on a contract vehicle, that contract vehicle holder, that prime, will do all the work that's not the subject matter expert. So I was a SharePoint company in my last company. And so if I got on a vehicle with somebody else, they do all the interaction with the government. I just have my team show up to work, do great SharePoint work, and leave. We throw an invoice and a timekeeping activity, but our administration overhead is really low in there. And so it's a fun place to be in because I can let somebody else take that responsibility, and I just keep heads down and really build past performance around our subject matter expertise. So that's a reason to get in there, is to allow somebody else to handle the government. The third reason you want to get on contract vehicles that I mentioned is they're not coming out all on SAM. And so some of them are coming out on portals. Seaport Next Gen is a contract vehicle in the Navy. You have to be in their portal to be able to see opportunities coming out. So you have to get on a contract vehicle with a prime contract holder and then get access to those opportunities. Sometimes it's through email, sometimes through a formal portal. But either way, you want to get on the contract vehicles as a subcontractor, as a teammate, so that you can see those opportunities. Actually, if I pause 1 second, when I keep saying get on a contract vehicle, I just want to clarify what I mean is that there's 2 ways you can get on a contract vehicle primarily. You can be the prime contract holder, you've got the contract vehicle, and then you can be what I call named subcontractors, meaning these 5 companies team together with this prime and they went off and they won it. They make up what I call a named team because the government is aware of these 5 subcontractors on the team. It's like, cool, I see all of you, you're there. Then there's this next level that I call unnamed. So you can try to become a named subcontractor on a vehicle where maybe they add you in, or it's more than enough to just be an unnamed partner on that contract vehicle. So Seaport Next Gen is a perfect example. There's nothing fancy there. They just give you access to the portal and say, tell us when you see something you like, and we'll all go after it together if it makes sense. And so that unnamed subcontractor just means you and the prime have agreed to work together, but there's no formality in there. The last reason I put here about why you want to get on a contract vehicle is because when you're going after a particular agency and you're selling a particular thing, that buyer has a preferred acquisition approach. That agency sits there and looks and goes, hey, we buy our IT work on DLA jets or on Eagle or whatever, right? There's so many contract vehicle names out there. But this idea of we've got these 5, these are our preferred. And you can look at that and go, that sucks, I'm not on any of them. Or you can sit there and say, okay, I'm gonna go get on each one of them as a sub, and I'm gonna push forward. So one of the things you wanna do, a little pro tip here, really it's just a basic tip from a pro, is make sure you go talk to the buyer. If you know who you wanna sell to, talk to them and say, hey, it takes one phone call to find out what are your top contract vehicles. I sell this. What's the typical way you do that procurement? Are you going through this vehicle or that vehicle? You should do your own research in fpds.gov because you can learn that as well in there. But sometimes it is easier just to call and ask somebody. Okay, so we got 15 minutes. I want to get into how to get on a contract vehicle. These are the 5 steps that I use to get on a contract vehicle. The first thing I do is I pick a contract vehicle. Let's say I'm picking Stars 3. It's an 8A contract vehicle, right? So number 1, I pick a vehicle. Number 2 is I go out and I find which companies have won that contract vehicle. Which ones are contract vehicle awardees or contract holders, right? Who's the primes on that vehicle? So that's the second thing. And I said Stars 3 is bullet number 1. Bullet number 2, there's about 1,000, 1,100 contract holders on Stars 3. That's a lot. I got a lot of room to work with. And then number 3, I find a point of contact for each contract holder that's in there. In the 7-step process that I teach for federal government success or federal revenue success, step 2 is targeting. Step 2 is about finding a name, a phone number, and an email. You're going to be wanting to do outreach, and so you need to get this information. I'll show you how to do that. Number 4, you then want to pick up the phone and call somebody. Call them, email those points of contact you had found in step 3. We call this outreach. It's step 3 in our 7-step process, right? So you can take a look at my website. Frankly, if you go right to the website, for anybody who hasn't done this, right on the website, you'll see there's the diagram. So you'll find it in many different places where we talk about it. So you're picking up the phone and you're going forward. The first bullet I have here is yesterday I did a whole training just on how to write the perfect email, right? And the idea is, how do you write an email that when you send it, it gets open? If I say there's 1,100 stars 3 contract holders, I am not going to spam all of them. I'm going to take a minute and try to sort them out and go, you know what? I might go with these ones. They're 8A stars 3 and they're veteran owned, and so am I. Maybe there's a connection. Or I'm going to look there and I'm going to go, I'm in Florida, they're in Florida. Let's see if there's a match, right? I'm looking to sit there and build an individual connection with these 1,100 people. I'm not looking to spam them all in one day. That'll get you nothing. In fact, that'll just get you a bad reputation. The second thing is when you're reaching out to these people, know your value, right? So I would come into somebody, if I started a business right now, I would come in and say, look, I got a brand new company. Company's got no experience, so I'm not going to prime for the next 2-3 years. What I want to do is build my past performance as a subcontractor, and I'd love to be on your team. This is when I'm talking to them, not the email. My expertise in the IT world is Microsoft SharePoint and Microsoft Teams or something, right? This is where we can help, but I'd love to be able to, see what opportunities are out there and chase them and come through you and to begin to work with you. Okay, hey, let's talk. But you need to know your value, right? I don't like to say value proposition. You just need to know what your clear, focused offer is, what your niche is. When you know what niche you can support, it's so much easier to tell it to them. And then the last tip I have for you, number 5, is don't stop with one teaming partner. Find multiple teaming partners, right? What I would recommend is you're talking with them and you work with them over the course of 4 to 8 weeks, 12 weeks. You're trying to find out, are they a good teaming partner? Not just they're on a vehicle, but are they engaging? Do they have their own process? Are they likely to win? So I'll talk more about that in a second. These are the vehicles I just want to spend the last 10 minutes in the training going through. I just pulled up some. Hopefully I'll get to them all. But the idea is you can get to vehicles. If you talk to the government, or if you talk to people who advise you, or you do your own research and you learn which vehicles are the right ones, the next step is to go, how do I find the winners that are out there? So I figured I'd start with just Google search as a generic thing, right? So if I come into Google and I type in Oasis small business, there you go, pool one awardees is perfect for me. So here it comes up, just showing you. So here it's just Google. I'm not doing anything fancy. It doesn't even matter if you have my level of experience. All I typed in was the vehicle I wanted, Oasis, and small business. And you didn't even have to know about pool one. You could just say awardees. That's kind of a good pattern to follow. So then it gives me a list. I'm going to go in here. It's a GSA vehicle. So e-library contractor listing looks exactly like what I want. And it is. When I come in here, it's a mess right now. Ignore the fact that there's no pictures. I don't know why that's happening. Maybe my memory or something. But really, over here on the left-hand side, you can see contractor listing. And here's Oasis Small Business. And it starts talking about some of the stuff. So I'm going to just click on Oasis Small Business there. Partly because I've done this, right? I just did this a little bit ago to make sure it's working. And so now I'm going to come in here and you can see right at the bottom, it's got download contractors. If you scroll down, they're all basically grouped under this one spreadsheet. So I'm going to click on the spreadsheet. There's nothing here, but right here in this mess of their website, not mine, is this download button. And I click on it. And when I do, now I'm inside of the Oasis small business contract holders. So if I just zoom in really quick, I'm just going to scroll over a teeny bit, right? But one of the things you can see is that actually, wonder if I can do a filter. No, let me just say edit a copy really quick. Nope, I can't edit it, so I'm going to move on. I was hoping to be able to show it, but you can see where it has large categories and categories. This is how you can look in. But here's the vendor, right? I'm not going to look at a lot of this stuff. I'm going to come across. There's address, city, who cares? But there's a phone number and a point of contact. So here you can see it's Jay Yoder, and that's a person. I don't know who it is at the moment. So for me, because there's nothing here, there's no name, it's just an email. Before I even reach out, I would go look at their website. I go, who's Jay Yoder, right? And I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly. But I'm coming across, what I'm also looking at is this part here. I can see that they're woman-owned or service disabled, et cetera. That's important. And then one last thing is if I come over, I don't have it right now, but the idea is those pools, you can't see it, but I'm able in 2 seconds to find these people. By the way, something else I can do really quick is when I'm looking at these contract holders, I can also go to DSBS and take that company and go over to DSBS, find them in the dynamic small business search, and I can find the owner of the company, usually with a phone number and an email. Okay, so let me close this one and show you another one. So that was Oasis, and I was going through Google. So here's Stars 3. I already put the link in here. So if I come in, it's the same thing. I'm able to look at Stars 3, and Stars 3 has 3 pools on it, but you can see, hopefully I don't have to go too far in to show you this, right? But you can see I got an email, address. Here it's even better because there's a program manager. More often than not, the Stars 3 program manager is the owner of the company because we all tend to do our same work there. And so as you come across, you can see the other information. You got a phone number, you got an email. These guys all have Stars 3. I literally built a directory. It's still on our website somewhere, but I don't promote it as much. But it's the Stars 3 directory with people's email addresses, not a generic email. And then over here, I can look at this one. There's 3 pools here, basically. There's emerging technologies, there's outside of continental United States, and then there's regular. And so you can look at this, go, oh, I really want to be helping the emerging technology or something. So that's another way. Right away, I'm able to find 1,100. This spreadsheet has 1,100 holders. Just watching my time moving fast. Something I wanted to show you really quick is that some contract vehicles, you can go see who's winning. Or let me say this. Some of them you can find it really easy. Some you have to go to FPDS and USA Spending and do a little work. But here I can come in and see who's winning on Stars 3. So this is GSA's GWAC dashboard. I'm not going to explain the tool. You can go look at it. Somebody can grab that link right there, or just go search for GSA GWAC dashboard and do some of your discovery. But in here, I'm looking at the Stars 3 contract vehicle, right? And I can see how many task orders went out. There was 400 in 2022, 360 in 2023. For me, if I was an 8A Stars 3 company and all those companies, I'd be really concerned about how poor the numbers are because this is a very big vehicle. But the reason I wanted to show you is I can come here and say, show me by industry partner, and hopefully it'll work for me. But I can come down here now and start seeing who's winning. So here at the moment, it's sorting it by federal agency. Let me scroll it up here. So I'm not going to go too far into it. I'm already getting lost on the dashboard, but you can see my point. You can go in here and this dashboard will show you which agencies are doing Stars 3. But for today's training, you can see which contract holders are winning, and you want to go in and maybe start talking to some of those winners and say, hey, we can help you win more. Or you go the opposite direction, find people who are not winning and say, hey, I'd love to help you start winning on Stars 3. Can I? Those people who have Stars 3 for the last 2 years but haven't won, I think they'd be open to you coming in saying, I'd like to help you win contracts on Stars 3 where I get a piece of it when it makes sense. Here's another contract vehicle. Somebody asked me, they shot me a message the other day. They watched a video I did 2 years ago, this past week, and they asked about the contract vehicles. And so here's Astro. I didn't even really track on it, but I'm able to come in and I can come in and look at, who's on Astro. Literally the question is exactly what we want. And in here, I can see the different groups and I can go in and look at the directories that they have. Like if I look at, support, that's an interesting one, right? If I come in, I can come in on this page and look at all these people I find, right? Do not spam. Please remember, do not spam, but do not use a lack of information as an excuse. Just dig. Google is your friend and you'll start finding it. But here's all these people and I can start digging in, finding who they are. Here's this guy, McDonald Patrick. He's not my brother, but, same last name. So I might call him just for the fun of it. Okay, let me show you the last one. This is another one I was doing with a customer earlier in the month, and they were looking to begin to reach out to more teaming partners. I'm able to come into these domains. I've already done this research, so I know, but let's say I go into the ocean domain. This is a contract vehicle that's pretty big, but if I come down, I'm able to start looking at the procurement forecast for this pool on this vehicle. But more important to what we're talking about today, here I can click on a PDF and find the points of contact, right? Here's Battelle or Battle. Here's Cardinal, and here's Alex as a point of contact. I can reach out. I can start developing a relationship, see if there's a way to get in, etc. So these contract vehicles are out there. Most of the ones you're trying to reach are out there, and you have this ability to find the points of contact. Just remember these 5 steps that I did. Pick a vehicle, find the contract holders, get the points of contact, reach out to them, and then repeat until you have 5 or 10 good partners to figure out which ones are the best for you. Okay, here's what I want you to remember from today's training. First thing is pick one contract vehicle and just dive into that. We call this research because you're looking at what is the best vehicle for the agency you're trying to support. The second thing I want you to remember is then identify points of contact for 50 different companies on that contract vehicle when it makes sense, right? This is called targeting, when you're getting the names, numbers, and emails. And then the third step is to contact those people and get a meeting. We call this outreach in the 7-step process, but get a meeting. See if there's a fit between you and their company. If you can bring value, they'll love to talk with you. So as you move forward into the week and as you pursue contract vehicles you might be able to subcontract under, just remember, government contracting, it's not a secret. It's just a process. I'll see you in the next training.